नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपादाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। All right, dear devotees, so we will continue our discussion, Canto 1, Chapter 19. Let me share my screen. So, anybody remembers anything from this chapter?
Yeah, Mataji, I remember that Parikshit Maharaj was feeling distressed that he has committed such a crime, and he was thinking if he can get the reaction quickly, it will not impact others. So he doesn't want his relatives, his family to get impacted because of his deed. And also, when he heard the news that he will die within 7 days, he did not feel dejected. Instead, he felt happy that his reaction was coming sooner. And then he went on the banks of the Yamuna, and he's starting to take the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, and he's fasting there until death. That's what I remember.
Yeah, so we did till verse number 7 or 8?
7, I think so.
7, yeah, we have to do 8. Yeah. Actually, he took it as like the curse, as that it will become the cause of his detachment, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Stop. टीवी के पास चश्मा रखा हुआ लेके आना बेटा.
Yeah, so he just going to fast till death, and like he actually took shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, right? And that only can give us liberation, right? That and the glories of actually in the verse it says Ganga, but in the purport Prabhupada is mentioning that actually it is Yamuna, right? That how the river itself is so purifying.
Yes.
Yeah. And also in the purport, that one thing, even though it looks like a curse, but because he got a notice that he knew that in 7 days he has to leave the world. So, but he accepted it as if it was a great fortune that he knew that he is going to pass away in 7 days, so he can prepare himself to go back to Krishna, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. So yeah. So basically, he wanted to get the reaction soon so that his family and he doesn't have to suffer in the next lives, right? All right. So let us start from verse number 8. 1 second. So now I think this is the next section. Yeah, from verse number 8 to 24, Maharaj Parikshit, he submits himself to the assembled sages. So because a lot of sages came there hearing that Maharaj Parikshit is going to leave, so many sages came there, and Parikshit Maharaj is trying to take shelter of them. So let's see. Someone wants to read?
You can read Mataji.
Sure.
Go ahead, Mataji. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Text 8, right?
Yes, 8. Yeah.
Tatropaja mugur Bhuvanam Punana Vahanubhava Munaya Sa Shishaya Prayena Tirtha Bigama Padesha Swayam Hi Tirthani Punanti Shantaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Ekti Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. At this time, all the great minds and thinkers, accompanied by disciples and sages who could who could verily sanctify a place of pilgrimage just by their presence, arrived there on a plea of making a pilgrim's journey. Purport. When the Maharaj Parshik sat down on the bank of Ganges, the news spread in all directions of the universe, and the great-minded sages who could follow the importance of the occasion all arrived there on the plea of pilgrimage. Actually, they came to meet Maharaj Parshit and not to take a bath of pilgrimage because all of them were competent enough to sanctify the place of pilgrimage. Common men go to pilgrimage sites to get themselves purified of all sins. Thus, the places of pilgrimage become overburdened with the sins of others. But when such sages visit overburdened places of pilgrimage, they sanctify the place by their presence. Therefore, the sages who came to meet Maharaj Parshit were not very much interested in getting themselves purified like common men, but on a plea of taking a bath in that place, they came to meet Maharaj Parshit because they could foresee that Srimad Bhagavatam would be spoken by Sukadev Goswami. All of them wanted to take advantage of the great occasion. Hari Bol.
All right, you want to say something?
Yeah, Mataji. So, what they say is the great pilgrimage place, all common people go to purify themselves. But for these great sages, they are already purified. So when they go there, they sanctify the place. They places like that, it's already overburdened with sins of the other people. They go there and sanctify, and there is no necessity for them to go to pilgrimage, but they really wanted to go there so that they wanted to take advantage of the Srimad Bhagavatam recital by Shukadev Goswami. That's what I...
So that's very surprising, means kind of that they knew that Srimad Bhagavatam would be spoken by Sukadeva Goswami there. Actually, because I think the main reason is because Parikshit Maharaj is such a great devotee of the Lord. So it is very, very auspicious to be present when a great devotee of the Lord is leaving the mortal world, because we know that the devotee is going to go back to Krishna. So that's why all these sages they came. Yes, so let's move on to the next verse. Someone want to read 9 and 10? Oops, sorry.
I can read that.
Yeah, Prabhu, 1 second. Yeah.
Atrirvasista Jyapana Sharadvan Aristanemir Igur Angirascha Parasaro Gadi Suto Atharama Utatia Indra Pramade Vahu Medatitir Devala Arstik Seno Bharadvajo Gautama Pipalalasta Maitreya Aura Kavasha Kumbhayonir Deva Depanyano Bhagwan Narada Sacha. Translation. From different parts of the universe there arrived great sages like Atri, Chavana, Saradvan, Aristanemi, Irgu, Vasista, Parsara, Vishwamitra, Angira, Parshurama, Uthatya, Indra Pramada, Idma Vahu, Medaditini, Devala, Aristisena, Bharadwaj, Gautama, Pipalalada, Maitreya, Aurya, Kavasa, Kumbayoni, Devpyana, and the great personality Narada. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, here Mataji, I think is just giving who are the great personalities.
Prabhu, yeah.
That's very nice. A great sage and one of the sons of Bilgu Muni. He was born prematurely when his pregnant mother was kidnapped. Chiavana is one of the great six sons of his father. One of the six sons of his father. Birgu, when Brahmaji was performing a great sacrifice on behalf of Varuna, Maharashi, Birgu was born from the sacrificial fire. He was a great sage, and his very dear wife was Puloma. He could travel in space like Durvasa, Narada, and others, and he used to visit all the planets of the universe. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, he tried to stop the battle. Sometimes he instructed Bharadwaj Muni about astronomical evolution, and he is the author of the great Virgu Samhita, the great astrological calculation. He explained how air, fire, water, and earth are generated from ether. He explained how the air in the stomach works and regulates the intestines. As a great philosopher, he logically established the eternity of the living entity, Mahabharata. He was also a great anthropologist, and the theory of evolution was long ago explained by him. He was a scientific propounder of the four divisions and orders of the human society known as the Varnashrama institution. He converted Kshatriya king Vitahavya into a Brahmana. Vasista, see Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1, Chapter 9, text number 6. Parasara. He is the grandson of Vasista Muni and the father of Vyasadeva. He is the son of Maharishi Shakti, and his mother's name was Adrasyati. He was in the womb of his mother when she was only 12 years old, and when from within the womb of his mother he learned, and from within the womb of his mother he learned the Vedas. His father was killed by a demon, Kalmasapada, and to revenge this, he wanted to annihilate the whole world. He was restrained, however, by his grandfather, Vasista. He then performed a Rakshasa killing yagna, but Maharishi Pulastya restrained him. He begot Vyasadeva, being attracted by Satyavati, who was to become the wife of Maharaj Shantanu. By the blessings of Parasara, Satyavati became pregnant for miles, and he was present also during the time of Bhishma Dev's death. He was spiritual master of Maharaj Janaka and a great devotee of Lord Shiva. He is the author of many Vedic scriptures and sociological directions. Gadisutta or Vishwamitra, a great sage of austerity and mystic power. He is famous as Gadisutta because his father was Gadi, a powerful king of the province of Kanyakubja, part of Uttar Pradesh. Although he was a Kshatriya by birth, he became a Brahmana in the very same body by the power of his spiritual achievements. He picked a quarrel with Vasista Muni when he was a Kshatriya king and performed a great sacrifice in cooperation with Maganga Muni, and thus was able to vanquish the sons of Vasista. He became a great yogi, and yet he failed to check his senses and was thus obliged to become the father of Shakuntala, the beauty queen of the world history. Once he was a Kshatriya king. Once when he was a Kshatriya king, he visited the hermitage of Vasistha Muni, and he was given a royal reception. Vishwamitra wanted from Vasistha a cow named Nandini, and the Muni refused to deliver it. Vishwamitra stole the cow, and thus there was a quarrel between the sage and the king. Vishwamitra was defeated by the spiritual strength of Vasistha, and thus the king decided to become a Brahmana. Before becoming a Brahmana, he underwent severe austerity on the banks of the Kaushika. He was also one who tried to stop the Kurukshetra war. Angira, he is one of the 6 mental sons of Brahma and the father of Brihaspati, the great learned priest of the demigods in the heavenly planets. He was born of the semen of Brahmaji, given to a chinder of fire. Uthatya and Samavata were his sons. It is said that he is still performing austerity and chanting the holy name of the Lord at a place known as Alokhananda on the banks of the Ganges.
Prabhu,
Yes.
Prabhu, maybe someone else can read. If you want to share something out of these personalities, you share. Otherwise, someone else can read the rest. So,
No, Mataji, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. In fact, I had just had a question on this, about Vishwamitra. So we said, because Vishwamitra, we saw him during the Treta Yuga with in the Lila, Ram Lila, and now he's lived a very, very long life then, right? Because
yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to have that clarification.
Yes, and this Bhrigu Muni, we know that who went to test who is the greatest, Shiva, Brahma, or
right.
That one, Bhrigu. And Parashar is the one who gave
Kshatriyas,
definition of Bhagavan, like who is the 6 opulences one.
Right.
Yeah. So, and also that Satyavati, whose son is Vishnudev.
Right.
So that he is the one who, like when he was crossing the river, then Satyavati, he impregnated Satyavati with what is his name? Parashar. Yeah.
Vyasadev, no?
Vyasadev. Yeah.
Vyasadev.
Vyasadev was to be appearing at that time, so he created that atmosphere, and then Vishnudev actually took a vow to not be the king or marry, right? Because father wanted, Satyavati's father wanted, Shantanu got attracted to Satyavati, and then his father wanted him to take a vow that her son is going to become the king, right? That whole story of Mahabharata.
Right.
And Vishwamitra, we know all of Ramayana, we hear like how he wanted to capture the cow. And the cow, actually, Vasishta Muni was about to give the cow. The cow herself spoke that how can you leave me like that? It's not fair. And then the cow produced because that was the wish fulfilling cow, all the weapons and everything. And then there was a fight between Vishwamitra and Vasishta, and then this king, he became like, he has to become a Brahmana. So we hear all this in Ramayana, actually, right? Okay, so Prabhu, you read it to Angira, right? And this Angira Muni is the same one who went to Chitraketu with Narad Muni, right? So that Chitraketu can have a son, and then the son is going to die, and then Chitraketu becomes a devotee, and he then Chitraketu then becomes Vritrasura, and then in Vritrasura's body he goes back to Godhead. All right. So now Parshuram. Okay, this is someone wants to read the next.
Yeah, Mataji, I can read.
Go ahead. Yeah, Rashmi.
Parashurama, Sri Bhagavatam 1.9.6. Should we go there, Mataji, or will
No,
we
no.
have read
I
it?
think it's fine. Somebody who wants to read, they can go and read.
Yeah. Uttatya, one of the three sons of Maharshi Angira. Okay, he was the spiritual master of Maharaj Mandatha. He married Bhadra and the daughter of Soma, moon. Varuna kidnapped his wife Bhadra, and to retaliate the offense of the god of water, he drank all the water of the world. Um, so Uttaya drank all the water of the world. Varuna kidnapped the, okay.
Yeah.
So Medha Titi, an old sage of yore, an assembly member of the heavenly king Indradev. His son was Kanva Muni, who brought up Shakuntala in the forest. He was promoted to the heavenly planet by strictly following the principles of retired life, Vanaprastha. Devala, a great austerity like Narad Muni and Vyasadev. His good name is on the list of authorities mentioned in Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna acknowledged Lord Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. He met Maharaja Yudhishthira after the Battle of Kurukshetra. He was the elder brother of Daumya, the priest of the Pandava family. Like the Kshatriyas, he also allowed his daughter to select her own husband in a Swayambar meeting. And at that ceremony, all the bachelor sons of the rishis were invited. According to some, he is not Ashishta Devala.
Asita Devala. He's not
Asita.
Asita Devala. Mhm.
Okay. Bharadwaja, Srimad Bhagavatam C 1.9.6, and Gautama, one of the 7 sages. Mataji, what is the 9th chapter name, Mataji? Which chapter
That's
they are referring?
Vishnudev. Remember
Oh,
the
okay.
time of
Ha, ha,
Vishnudev
ha.
passing
In
also,
the
so
beginning.
many rishis and all came. So there Prabhupada.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Mahajans, everything was
Yeah.
explained there, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
it. Gautama, one of the 7 great sages of the universe. Sharadvan Gautama was one of his sons. Persons in the Gautama Gotra dynasty today are either his family descendants or his disciplic succession. The Brahmana who profess Gautama Gotra are generally family descents, and the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas who profess Gautama Gotra are all in the line of his disciplic succession. He was the husband of famous Ahalya, who turned into stone when Indradev, the king of heaven, molested her. Ahalya was delivered by Lord Ramachandra. Gautama was the grandfather of Kripacharya, one of the heroes of the Battle of Kurukshetra. Maitreya, a great rishi of yore, he was the spiritual master of Vidura. Oh, spiritual master of Vidura and a great religious authority. He advised Dhritarashtra to keep good relationship with the Pandavas. Duryodhana disagreed and thus was cursed by him. He met Vyasadev and had religious discourses with him. Mataji, it's all self-explanatory, Mataji.
Yeah. And we don't remember. So one thing that thought came when you were reading, Rashmi, that what is the position of Parikshit Maharaj actually, that all these exalted personalities are coming for his passing away, right? It's amazing. Devotee anyways is like always holds a higher place than all these rishis and yogis and all, right? Yeah, so here in one of the Asita Devla, so in Bhagavad Gita, in 10th chapter, Arjuna says that Krishna, you are the source of everything, Pavitram Paramam Imam, Imam Rajarish. There actually that he says, not only he says that, but all these sages also, Asita Devla also says. So Prabhupada is mentioning that it is not that. Some people say that this is not that Asita Devla, it's somebody else. Right? All right, so let's move on to the next verse. Someone would like to read?
I can read Mataji.
Sure, Mataji, thank you.
Thank you. अन्ये च देवर्षि ब्रह्मर्षि वर्या राजर्षि वर्या अरुणादयाश्च नानर्षेय प्रवरान् समेतान् अभ्यर्च्य राजा शिरसा वन्दे. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There were also many other saintly demigods, kings, and special royal orders called Arunadayas, a special rank of Rajasis from different dynasties of sages. When they all assembled together to meet the Emperor Parikshit, he received them properly and bowed his head to the ground. Purport. The system of bowing the head to the ground to show respect to superiors is an excellent etiquette which obliges the honored guest deep into the heart. Even the first grade offender is excused simply by this process, and Maharaj Pariksit, also honored by all the rishis and kings, welcomed all the big men in that humble etiquette in order to be excused from any offenses. Generally, at the last stage of one's life, this humble method is adopted by every sensible man in order to be excused before departure. In this way, Maharaj Pariksit implored everyone's goodwill for going back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Mataji, you want to say?
Yeah. Yeah, so Maharaj Pariksit, although he is a very, very pious king, very great king, but although he is a very great king, he bowed down all his sages and rishis, and he excuses for all his whatever he did offenses. So he asked for the forgiveness. Thus he showed his give us example like how he is humble, and we have to do this. We have to accept this certificate.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
One then head to the ground for the superiors.
Hmm. So this is like how Prabhupada is writing so beautifully that the show respect to the superiors is an excellent etiquette which obliges the honored guest deep into the heart. So that is like how when we offer obeisances, how it is. Yeah. But yeah, see how first grade offender is excused simply by this process, and Maharaj Parikshit, although honored by all the rishis and kings, welcomed all the big. So see, in the last verse, that's why Srila Prabhupada explained about what all those sages and rishis were, and in front of them, actually they came for Maharaj Parikshit, considering Maharaj Parikshit to be an exalted devotee. But here, Maharaj Parikshit, out his humble etiquette, he is offering obeisances. And offering obeisances is like one of the anga of, like, meaning in our devotional services is one of the anga actually, right? So it's very important to offer obeisances. Right? Krishna says, "Mana mana bhav mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru." Yeah, so that is offering obeisances. All right, so now let's move on to verse number 12.
I can read Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sukhopavishteva atha teshu bhuyah krita pranama swachikirshitam yat vigyapayamas viviktacheta upasthito gre abhigrihit panihi. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After all the rishis and others had seated themselves comfortably, the king humbly, standing before them with folded hands, told them of his decision to fast until death. Purport: although the king had already decided to fast until death on the bank of the Ganga, he humbly expressed his decision to elicit the opinions of the great authorities present there. Any decision, however important, should be confirmed by some authority. That makes the matter perfect. This means that the monarchs who ruled the earth in those days were not irresponsible dictators. They scrupulously followed the authoritative decisions of the saints and the sages in terms of Vedic injunction. Maharaj Parikshit, as a perfect king, followed the principles by consulting the authorities even up to the last days of his life. Haribol.
Yeah, Prabhu, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, it's straightforward. The thing which is striking me, even at this last moment, he is ready to consult the sages that what decision he's making fast until that is correct or not. So his humility, his surrender, and like he is just seeking being, even though being a king, he is seeking the advice of the authorities. So that's a great quality.
Yeah. Yeah, so this, what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, this is a principle for us actually. This is a principle for us. Any important decision, however firmly fixed, should be confirmed by some authority. That makes the matter perfect. Means we cannot act independently. When there is some important decision, we actually should consult with our authorities. I mean, means if not directly spiritual master, then those with whom, like, seniors, meaning those whom we take guidance from and all, we should actually consult those things. That is a way of spiritual life actually. Yeah, because the whole thing is, until now, I mean, in this material life we want to be completely independent, but in spiritual life, anyways, even in material life, we are actually not independent, but we think we are independent. So this whole process of any spirituality, or actually Krishna consciousness, is that, as we heard in third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, how Krishna declares that we are dependent completely on Krishna. And but here, directly Krishna, I mean, we are not like so pure devotee that Krishna is, I mean, at least I am not, that Krishna is directly, I am able to access the super soul in my heart and take guidance from the super soul. It's there, but I can't access it because I'm not present. I'm not so pure that I can hear what the super soul is saying. So the method that Krishna has given us is those authorities who are helping us to go to Krishna. We should consult with them. All right. So now let's Raja Parikshit Maharaj is going to speak to the sages, and it's very, very nice section actually. Someone wants to read? Okay, I can read. Rajo vacha aho vayam dhanyatama nripanam mahottamanu graha graha grahaniya shilaha rajanam kulam brahman pad shochad durad vishrastam bata Grahaya karma. Sorry, what is that? Grahaya karma. Yeah, condemnable karma. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The fortunate king said, "Indeed, we are the most grateful of all the kings who are trained to get favors from the great souls." So he is expressing his gratitude. We are the most grateful of all the kings who are trained to get favors from the great souls. Generally, you sages consider royalty as refuse to be rejected and left in a distinct place. So basically, generally, the saintly personalities, they don't want to mingle with the the opulent people. Especially, they feel like the kings are, they are like in Maya, kind of, just like how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't want to give audience to King Prataprudra, even though he was a devotee, because of the opulence becomes a impediment in the path, in the way between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the king. Purport: according to religious principles, stool, urine, wash water, etc., must be left at a long distance. Attached bathrooms, urinals, etc., may be very convenient amenities of modern civilization, but they are ordered to be situated at a distance from residential quarters. That very example is cited here in relation to the kingly order for those who are progressively marching back to Godhead. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that to be in intimate touch with dollars and cents men or the kingly order is worse than suicide for one who desires to go back to Godhead. In other words, the transcendentalists do not generally associate with men who are too enamored by the external beauty of God's creation. By advanced knowledge in spiritual realization, the transcendentalist knows that this beautiful material world is nothing but a shadowy reflection of the reality, the kingdom of God. They are not therefore very much captivated by royal opulence or anything like that. But in the case of Maharaj Parikshit, the situation was different. Apparently, the king was condemned to death by an inexperienced Brahmana boy. But factually, he was called by the Lord to return to him. One second. Apparently, the king was condemned to death by the inexperienced Brahmana boy, but factually, he was called by the Lord to return to him. Other transcendentalists, the great sages and mystics who assembled together because of Maharaj Parikshit's fasting on to death, were quite anxious to see him, for he was going back to Godhead. Maharaj Parikshit also could understand that the great sages who assembled there were all kind to his forefathers, the Pandavas, because of their devotional service to the Lord. He therefore felt grateful to the sages for being present there at the last stage of his life, and he felt that it was all due to the greatness of his late forefathers and grandfathers. He felt proud, therefore, that he happened to be the descendant of such great devotees. Such pride for the devotees of the Lord is certainly not equal to the puffed up sense of vanity for material prosperity. The first is reality, whereas the other is false and vain. So very nice humility of Parikshit Maharaj here. So he is expressing his gratitude, and he's expressing that they are here because of his ancestors, basically, because they were devotees of Krishna. That's why himself he is considering as a rejected and left out thing, basically. Himself he is thinking that he is somebody who is rejected by the saintly personalities, just like the Prabhupada is mentioning here, urinals and the bathrooms. In olden days, they used to be away from the house, not close to the house. So saintly personality don't want to go close to this kingly class. And as I was telling before, the pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Maharaj Pratap Rudra. So the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that to be in intimate touch with dollars and cents man or the kingly order is worse than suicide for one who desires to go back to Godhead. Because of their opulence, they may be completely materialistic. That's the reason. And it's very subtle kind of, even though, but here we see that Srila Prabhupada, he is such a pure devotee that he used the wealth of those who had great wealth in service of the Lord and make them pure devotees. Like the example of Giriraj Maharaj is coming to my mind in the first place is that Giriraj Maharaj actually joined Srila Prabhupada and he went to India with Srila Prabhupada to Mumbai, there his father comes and he tells his son that I want to give you, you leave Srila Prabhupada and I will give you $1 million or something like that. And that Giriraj Maharaj actually chose to stay with Srila Prabhupada. He left the wealth, actually. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, the point is that King Parikshit was proud of his grandfather's fathers because of their devotion to Krishna. And he is grateful to the sages for coming there, and his humility to consider himself as the, the urinal and the bathroom kind of rejects, basically. Right? And here Srila Prabhupada says that when we are proud of a devotee, that is actually the real pride. It's different than the other kind of pride which comes from material prosperity. All right, so let's do next verse.
Mataji, I have one question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mataji, so is it mentioned anywhere, like, did he had a guru, or who he like, who was his guru for Parikshit Maharaj?
Parikshit Maharaj,
Yeah.
we will hear Sukdev Goswami is going to be his guru. Actually, and these kingly orders, they have, in their kingdom, they have gurus, but there is no name mentioned here. But we will see that he is going to accept Sukadev Goswami as his spiritual master.
Okay. Okay, Mataji. Thank you. Can I read, Mataji?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
You do. Yeah.
तस्यैव मेघस्य प्रावरेशो व्यासक्तचित्तस्य घ्रेशभीषणं निर्वेदमूलो द्विजशापरूपो यत् प्रसक्तोऽभ्यमाशुध्यते. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds, has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana's curse. Due to my being too much attached to family life, the Lord, in order to save me, has appeared before me in such a way that only out of fear I will detach myself from the world. Purport. Maharaj Parikshit, although born in a family of great devotees, the Pandavas, and although securely trained in transcendental attachment for the association of the Lord, still found the allurement of mundane family life so strong that he had to be detached by a plan of the Lord. Such direct action is taken by the Lord in the case of a special devotee. Maharaj Parikshit could understand this by the presence of the topmost transcendentalist in the universe. The Lord resides with his devotees, and therefore the presence of the great saints indicated the presence of the Lord. The king therefore welcomed the presence of the great rishis as a mark of favor of the Supreme Lord. Hari Bol.
Yeah, you want to say something?
Yes, Mataji. So here is like the Parikshit Maharaj is taking it as a mercy from Krishna, that he's feeling like he was so attached that this is Krishna's plan in order to save him. So he has accepted this, and also because of his heritage and the ancestry of the Pandavas who had such belief in Krishna, and he believes that Lord directly came to rescue him because he was too attached with the family, and he believes that the Lord resides with the devotees, and because of all the great saints, he could feel the presence of the Lord.
Yeah.
Yes.
So even though, so this verse has like two point of views basically. One thing is, we can say that Maharaj Parikshit is out of humility speaking like that, and according to Srila Prabhupada's purport, and even the verse, that Maharaj Parikshit is saying, even though actually he belonged to a devotee family, but still to be in the kingly position, there can be some attachment that Krishna had to make a plan to detach them from that allurement of, family life. So it's amazing. But another thing is that if one is a devotee, then that Srila Prabhupada writes here, here such direct action is taken by the Lord in the case of a special devotee. So anyway, Parikshit Maharaj has been a special devotee. Even in the womb of his mother, he was protected by Krishna. So he is a special devotee. And also this pastime shows us that if we are uh, on the path of devotion, then Krishna will, if we are somehow or the others have some attachment, then Krishna is going to take it away, as we hear in that verse, 10th canto, chapter 88, verse number 8. Let's read that quickly. 10:88, 8. Tasyaham anugrinami. That one. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Yasyaham Anugranami Harishe Tad Dhanam Shanahe Tato Adhanam Tyajanti Yasya Swajana Dukhitam. So what is he saying? Personality of God has said, if I especially favor someone, so that is what he did to Parikshit Maharaj, I gradually deprive him of his wealth, then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. So basically, when a distress comes here in the Parikshit Maharaj's life, and Parikshit Maharaj accepted it without any grudge. He immediately understood that this is the plan of the Lord, and this is a blessing to me, that it is going to detach me from this worldly, mundane, materialistic life. Very such examples actually help us to, when we go through some difficulties, then these examples help us to understand what could be good in this reversal that is happening in my life. All right, so let's read one more quickly.
Mata,
Somebody,
can I ask one more question?
yeah, sure.
So Parikshit Maharaj is like you said, like is he out of humility saying that he was attached to the family, or is there like some
Yeah,
going on
yeah,
that he was
no. He is saying out of humility, and you know what? That Krishna orchestrate these pastimes for us to learn lessons, just like he put Arjuna in that bewilderment, even though he was a pure devotee, right?
okay?
So these pastimes are for us actually, not so much for, not they are in Maya or something. We are in Maya, and
Yeah.
Krishna is using his devotees to teach us that,
Yeah, because we are
multiple lessons, as I said, that if we are devotee, or if we belong to devotee family, if we have attachment, then Krishna will orchestrate something in our life that we become detached, right? So that is one. Another is humility of Parikshit Maharaj, and another lesson is when some difficulty comes in a devotee's life, how he takes it, right? There are many more, but these three main are coming to my mind right now.
Yeah, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
All right. So should we quickly read this, or if somebody has something to add or say, then maybe we can just discuss, and otherwise we can read this one more verse.
I can read, Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead, Anita Mataji.
Tam mop yantam pratiyunta vipra ganga cha devi dhrat mishe dvijo prasrasht kuhukast akshko shkova dashtvan tanam gayat Vishnu Gatha. O Brahmanas, just accept me as completely surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganges, the representative of Lord, also accept me in that way. For I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let the snake bird or whatever magical thing that the Brahmana created bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. As soon as one
is given up completely unto the lotus feet of Supreme Lord, he is not at all afraid of death. The atmosphere created by the presence of great devotees of the Lord on the banks of Ganges and Maharaj Parikshit's complete acceptance of the Lord's lotus feet were sufficient guarantee to the king for going back to Godhead. He thus became absolutely free from all fear of death. Hare Krishna.
You want to say something?
It's pretty much telling us that if we surrender completely to the lotus feet of Krishna, there should not be any fear or fear of death. Yeah.
Yes.
So every day we contemplate about this can happen, that can happen to me, I can die, I can. So many fears we go through in a given moment in every single day. And sometimes I sometimes we are saying it, but then I think as since I have in Krishna consciousness, I see myself like quickly catching to the fact that, oh, I am obviously not trusting completely to Krishna. That is why I am afraid. That is why I have this fear. So at least we have, as we're going through this process, we have more awareness now and being in Krishna consciousness. So, but definitely those devotees who have completely surrendered to the lotus feet definitely do not fear death at all. It's a guarantee, and that was the guarantee to the king also, Maharaj Parikshit, that the fact that he was with great devotees and on the banks of Ganga. Ganga being the representative of the Lord here. So that's what they're saying.
So this is what actually gives us fearlessness if we take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in our heart, that protect us from any kind of fear. And also there is this very celebrated verse, multiple times these kind of verses comes, Narayana para sarve na kutaschin vidyate, means they are never afraid. Narayana para sarve, whoever has taken shelter of Narayan, they are never afraid. Swarga pavar narkeshu api tulyarth darshanam. So they see wherever Swarga or Naraka or anything. So for them, no fear because they have taken shelter of the Supreme Lord. So that shelter is very, very important, and complete shelter comes when our heart gets completely purified. And for that, we have this process of chanting purifies our heart, and the scriptures gives us direction. So, and the 6 limbs of surrender, how we approach that surrender and full shelter is by six limbs are, somebody remembers?
Yes.
What are the 6 limbs?
Doing with it. Go ahead, Mataji.
I think she, go ahead.
Doing things which are favorable in Krishna consciousness, rejecting things which are not favorable. Krishna is my maintainer, Krishna is my protector, humility, and complete surrender.
Yes, yeah. So those are the 6. So basically for us, it starts with accepting things which are favorable for Krishna consciousness and rejecting things which are not favorable for Krishna consciousness. And if we reflect in our lives, like Vanita Mataji, you were saying, every moment there is some fear, something. So, and then we try to reflect, that happened and I was protected. So how is it that I was protected? We can think that way, and then we can realize that actually it was Krishna who was protecting us in some way, some form, right?
Yes.
So again, the reflection part is very important. That helps us to understand actually who is protecting us, who is maintaining us, and that way it will be helpful for us to take shelter and surrender.
That was Mataji. That was one of the most prominent realization I had in the very beginning. Was up till then we always, when we pray, we're always asking for something. We're always like bargaining with God.
Yeah.
That's what I was learning since childhood. And when it was said to me, like, you don't, he knows everything about you, so why bargain? Because the fact that you're bargaining, meaning you're fearing, that means you have lack of faith. That was a huge realization.
Yeah, but also as a child, we can still ask. I mean, because in a sense that I am dependent on you, Krishna.
Yeah, sure.
As a child, just like a child asks parents, we can ask, right? Just because we are not there yet, fully pure, that
Yeah.
this reminds
I
me
am
of
not there yet. But as a child, okay, I am dependent on you, Krishna. So you help me, right? I feel like I am in need of this thing right now, but I take shelter of you, but not any demigods or anybody. All right, so it's 8:30 bell rings here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Our Jagat Guru Srila
Prabhupada ki jai.
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरि हरि बोल। थैंक यू ऑल वेरी
Hari
मच
Bol
डियर
Mataji.
डिवोटीज।